What's up, CHFFL? I think you can see me this week. I think hopefully we're actually running, we're actually playing. As I said, I have been upgrading the studio, and that is coming with some hiccups. But I'm happy to be here this week, even though my team is absolutely dead. Those are our rundown. Scoring bounced back a good bit in week 2. From week 1, everything was down. We had some very high scores coming for us in week 2. My team is dead, and really, Grant kind of summarized it probably better than I can on the Two Tight Ends podcast, so I recommend you go back and see that stream. This week, we have our Two Tight Ends showdown, where unexpectedly Grant will come in at 2-0 and Bill at 1-1. So look forward to that. And as I said, always check in every Tuesday for Two Tight Ends. Grant and Bill continue to do an excellent job. 2024 draft, since I wasn't live last week, didn't get to mention this, but thank you, Max, for taking the initiative and planning. Please go comment and just help Max out a little, even if it's just. I mean, I think sometimes people think, oh no, I'm okay with everything, therefore I'm easy. But at least go and say that. Just it's so painful. It's so painful if you're trying to plan the draft and not getting feedback. And I'm not going to be involved in it this year, so it's going to be up to you guys. All right, let's get on to week 2's waivers. Not nearly as interesting as week 1's, but there still are some fun little stories here. Marty spent $21 on Zach Ertz, officially giving up on Kyle Pitts after 2 weeks. He dropped Pitts. Marty was the only offer on Zach Ertz, and Swan swept in and bid $26 to pick up Pitts. Everybody is still believing and will continue to believe in Kyle Pitts. Nobody else bid on Thursday, but if Pitts becomes who he was always supposed to be, that could be a good keeper for Swan. Other pickups, Josh Reynolds, $18 to Mini. One other bid came in at $5, and somebody just put a $0 claim in. Pierre Strong, I got him for $11 after Nick Chubb got injured. Thank goodness, it sounds like Chubb's injury was not as horrible as originally expected, and he could be back next year. Obviously, that doesn't help me at all. Can't keep him. But as a player, I really like Nick Chubb. I know Georgia, go Dogs, but I also am aware that most Penn State players and Georgia players, like everybody else who's a professional athlete, they're probably all jerks and not great people, but Nick Chubb always did seem different to me. So hoping he can have a really good recovery. One other bid came in at $7 for Strong, and much like when I picked up Kenneth Gainwell after week 1, news immediately destroyed Strong's any potential value as Cleveland signed Kareem Hunt, further murkying that backfield after Chubb went down. Finally, Matt Breida, $3 to Banis, who he did play on Thursday and got 10 points out of, so that worked out pretty well for him. In terms of predictions, I only went 3-3 in week 2, bringing me to 8-4 on the season. I missed on my game against Grant, which of course was about a 1-point game. I missed on Marty, who I have tethered myself to in my predictions. I don't know how long I can keep picking him just blindly to support the year of Marty. And I missed on Bill. Max was the team of the week against Bill in the game of the week. Max takes what seems to be a commanding position in the Fantasy Heart and Soul Conference. I guess with Grant too, because Grant's 2-0. But Max right now looks really great. Let's jump on over to our browser so we can look at our predictions for this week and what games we have. Oh boy, my head is just kind of in and out of reality there, isn't it? Well, we're just going to have to live with that for now. I'll try to fix it. The lighting. Nah, that looks really, really weird. How are you guys doing? I see Parker told me I'm good. Do I have any more live chat? Let's see. Rather show the green screen a little bit than have me be fuzzy. There we go. Yeah, that's better. All right. Like I said, new studio, trying to get the lighting all down. And No, let's go. Let's start with my sad game here. The Busan paper ballots against Wes's Psy Ducks. Still really like the name Psy Ducks. Right now, Fantasy Pros has me down at 71. A lot of that is because I don't have a defense or a kicker in there. I'm just patiently waiting for Montgomery and Christian Watson to be rolled out, which they both probably will be. So I'm going to have to keep my finger on the pulse here over the next couple of hours. Otherwise, it's just running back wasteland for me with Roshan Johnson in the starting lineup and Kenneth Gainwell, who, what is even his injury situation? He was a full participant, so he's going to play, but it looks like DeAndre Swift kind of took over there, so I don't know how much I can expect out of Gainwell. Receivers looking pretty decent with Nico Collins in the midst of a breakout, hopefully. I think the sky's the limit for him, so we'll see how high that can keep climbing. Jerry Jeudy back to healthy. He was a little bit on a pitch count last week, even though they said he wouldn't be. Hopefully he can be a good wide receiver too. And Chris Godwin, I think, continues to be underrated. We'll see if he can get some of the touchdowns that Mike Evans has been getting. Over to Wes, Brees Hall. Through 2 weeks, what do you see? Averaging, oh boy, I didn't realize he put up such a goose egg, but that was against Dallas. Dallas seems to be a cheat code this year, almost as you stream good, you stream defenses against a bad team. You almost have to check your players if they're playing Dallas this year, your offensive players, because Micah Parsons and that Dallas defense are just so crazy. Stan, thanks for the shout out. So happy to have supporters down in the great state of Arkansas. We're spreading out. And then it was so funny to me that Bandits was on the boat in Arkansas. It's Arkansas is on the rise, I guess, with cool people going there for cool reasons. Anyway, West got 12 points from Jake Moody. He has A.J. Brown to go, who is just due for a huge game. Devontae Adams. Yeah, I can't be as optimistic as I was last week. I just don't have realistic reason to, so I'm going to take Wes here. Now, we're going to come back because obviously our 2 tight ends has to be the game of the week. So let's go over to Marty. New Age Outlaws versus Mark. Can you digs it, sucka? Mark has started out really strong. Mark looks like he has kind of taken over this Attitude Era conference. But Marty got 50 points from McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel on Thursday. So the year of Marty, still a possibility. This is early in the season, but this is kind of a crucial game. 2 teams we expect to be fighting for a playoff spot who are going to look back on this and both hope that they have the win for the tiebreaker. So Marty still has Gibbs to go with presumably no David Montgomery. There's some big upside there. Michael Pittman, how's Pittman? I think his week 1 was good. How was his week 2? 13.6. So Pittman's averaging 17 points. Looks like he's up a good bit from last year. Zach Ertz, we'll see if Marty's able to plug that tight end spot. I definitely like Mark better with TJ Hawkinson. And then Dallas's defense against Arizona. The defense is a stud. Like, if I'm counting studs on both teams, Dallas's defense against Arizona, we know 40 points is a potential. It's on the table. I don't know what the limit is there. And then Mark, of course, got the wide receivers are just crazy, although Chase has been very disappointing to this point in the season, for him at least, getting 9.1 and 8.1, but you're expecting a breakout anytime. If Grant and Bill were playing, this could easily be a game of the week. Let's see what Fantasy Pros has to say. The New Age Outlaws, Marty, they have at a 95. Everybody seems to be pretty strong this week except for me, and I guess Minnie and Banis. And then Mark up at a 98, but that's before the Thursday game. That's before the Thursday game, and that's not considering the unlimited upside that the Dallas defense has. So I gotta roll with my boy Marty. It's the year of Marty, and that's gonna happen. Hey, you want to say hi? Okay. Stella's very interested. It's a very riveting stream, as everybody knows who is live here. All right, who's going to be our next game? Stick in the Attitude Era. Let's look at kind of a battle of the basement here. Banis and Mini. Degeneration Eckler versus 2 sacks and a Ric Flair. Both come in at 0-2. Both have to be pretty disappointed with the season to this point. I hammered on it last week in the video no one will ever see. That Mini it just makes me sad to see his team with Cup out, because that just seemed like such a pillar to build a team around. And it's kind of the same thing as me with Chubb. You can't blame Mini at all for the team struggling after you lose your first round pick like that for a few weeks. I mean, hopefully he gets him back when things aren't completely out of reach, but you never know. Banis got 10 points from Breda on Thursday, which I mentioned earlier, going over the waivers, and Mini got 9 from 49ers defense. It's pretty good for him. Otherwise, though, still projected pretty low. Still not, neither team is really loved on Fantasy Pros. Tutu Atwell, who, from everything I see, so there's all this debate about when Cup comes back. You got Puka Nakua and Tutu Atwell, because Sean McVay loves people with interesting names. And who is Cup going to eat into more? And it seems like Tutu is filling more of the Cup role, and Puka has his own role that is more likely to stay strong after Cup returns. But for now, Atwell seems to be a pretty strong start. We got the Eagles defense against Tampa Bay. That could be pretty good. I could see them putting up more than the 9 points there. Andrews an advantage over Taysom Hill. Mini's team, it's hard to get excited about really anybody over there. Banis missing Eckler too. I mean, that's the thing. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, wait, Banis had a stud that I'm not seeing here. We have two teams whose leaders are really out right now. I think it's just a gut call who I predict here. ESPN likes Mini at this point. Fantasy Pros has Banis just a bit ahead. I'm going to take Mini, and I'm going to say that Taysom Hill is going to have a grossly big, one of his random huge breakout games this week with Jamal Williams hurt and Kamara on his last week of the suspension. Taysom Hill is going to have a non-tight end game, and that's going to be the difference maker for me. Now let's see. Our last game in the Attitude Era Conference, Death Valley Undertaker, Swan, who's been very hot, and doesn't matter what my name is, Stan, who's out to an even better 2-0 start. Stan having to be happy. Everything in that Attitude Era Conference was supposed to be really close to start the year, so if you're able to pull away a little bit, that's looking great. Swan, though, got 16 from George Kittle on Thursday, and ESPN likes him a good bit more here. We're going to monitor Joe Burrow's situation, which I'll have to for the Dynasty League as well. I think he's going to play. The problem is that they're going Monday night. So for Swan, do you want to roll those dice that they don't protect the franchise guy? That's always Monday night games ruin everything, don't they? Let's see. No significant injuries. Jonathan Taylor, of course, one we already knew about. Stan picked him to hopefully be better later in the season. Otherwise, I see two really good teams here. I want to note that Tyreek Hill, I saw Jalen Waddle is out this week. Hill is, of course, a potential game-changing player. You have Jefferson on the other side. That'll be really interesting to me. Hill without Waddle against Jefferson. Who can put up the bigger standout day there? Defensive matchups, we have a head-to-head. I always love those head-to-head defensive fantasy matchups. So Packers against the Saints, that game could be a big swing in points. Raheem Mostert's been a very big overperformer for Swan to this point. See, Fantasy Pros has Stan at a 96, and Swan is the top team projected this week with 100. Here's the difference for me, though. See, Stan is here watching from Arkansas and is always active in the chat, so I'm going to pick Stan and try and send a little good mojo his way. McKinnon or James Conner? I have a question. Let's see. This week, Is that in relation to a certain team? Generally, I'd rather have Connor. Connor is just a lot more of a touchdown upside. I know. So they're playing Arizona, and that I guess is the complication. Is do you want to risk it with the matchup? But I'm taking it, especially in the CHFFL. I'm taking Connor for volume's sake because he gets passes, he gets dump offs, and he gets carries, and we give our 2 points for 10 carry bonus. So even against Dallas's defense, I don't care if he averages 2 yards a carry, he can put up 12 points in the CHFFL scoring with full PPR. Good question though. All right. See, Kendre Miller versus the Packers or Joshua Kelly versus the Vikings? Oh, I'm going Miller. I know I said that I think Taysom Hill is going to get a lot of work, but Miller seems like an upside play. Although, who else is Kelly really competing with? Eckler out of the picture. I think that's a toss up. That's kind of a gut call. I would personally go Kendre Miller because I'm kind of on the hype train with him as a breakout candidate. I don't think you could go wrong there. Let's see. Next game, let's get over to Max coming off that fresh team of the week. This is a really great game. This is very important. Just like last couple games we've gone over. Max coming in at 2-0, the Soul Brothers against Parker's Young Bokgung Royalty. That is how you say that. Parker is 1-1, expecting to be a super team. Week 1 is looking a little shaky and disappointing, but really bounced back last week, and he's starting to coalesce and look strong. And here's where we have our Joshua Kelly in the starting lineup for him. Tua without Waddle, but the Miami offense looks really great. I like both of these quarterbacks here. Any significant injuries? Deontay Johnson still out, and then Waddle, as we said. Javonte Williams been disappointing. I liked him a lot as a sleeper this year. Actually, no, he's not. Not in the CHFFL, where, again, we get our volume bonuses. So we're about 10, 11 a week. That's what, I mean, you drafted him down in the 60s. That's kind of what you were hoping for. Portland Sutton doing a little bit better than expected. Garrett Wilson, of course, no Aaron Rodgers, drops him down a bit. So I'm looking at who are my studs. My stud here is Bijan Robinson, controls this game for Parker. He looks every bit the real deal. He's on a Saquon Barkley's rookie season. He's on a Todd Gurley's rookie season, that kind of track. These rookies that have all the fresh legs and all the skill in the world. Bijan is the stud here, especially with Garrett Wilson quarterbackless. ESPN has Parker at 131 and Max at 129. Now, I don't like to miss on the same team 2 weeks in a row. And last week I picked Max to lose and he's surprised. Let's see what Fantasy Pros says, which you guys can already see, but I'm having to pull up. Let's see, Parker at a 95, Max at a 91. So both of our sites like Parker just a little bit better. And no Thursday games. What's our defense matchup? Browns against Tennessee or the Steelers against Vegas. I like both of those plays, actually. We got that question about James Conner. He is going against Dallas defense, whereas Mixon's going against the Rams. I'm going to throw this one to Parker. Man, you know what? Maybe Max rides good karma and proves me wrong 2 weeks in a row, but I like there to be chaos, so both Max and Parker being at 2-1 is best for chaos. And now let's get over to our game of the week. I believe I've touched on everybody else. Our two tight ends podcast hosts. We have Bill's Kim Chiago Bears at a surprising 1-1, and Grant's K-Pop Kings at an even more surprising 2-0. No games on Thursday, and most surprising, Grant is projected to win this. Now, I'm happy about this because in my outlooks, if you want to go and look at them, I said that I liked Grant a lot better than the numbers looked, although he has done a great, you got to give him credit for putting this team together. Puka Nacua was obviously, in my opinion, I mean, Kyron Williams or maybe an argument, but I think he was the one to go for week 1 on the waivers. I missed that. I put more money on Gainwell than I did Puka by about 5 to 10 fab. And that looks like he's going to be a solid starter even when Cooper Kupp comes back. Alexander Mattison has not been what you've wanted, and they just traded for Cam Akers, so that questions the depth a little bit. But I don't think that matters. ETN has not been hurt at all by Tank Bigsby, so he's on that RB1 kind of track. And Zach Moss, another really good pickup, unless Jonathan Taylor were to come back and take. We just don't know what's going to happen with Jonathan Taylor. I don't see him coming back and returning to a full-time starter. But if that happened, that would obviously tank Zach Moss's season-long value. However, right now, all we care about is this week, because if Grant were to get out to, say he leaves the first round of in-conference round robin at 4-1, he's in a buying position. I mean, he's at a point where you have that kind of record and you have some other good pieces. You have a wide receiver 1 in Amon-Ra, you have a wide receiver 2 in Puka, ETN, a running back 1, and you have a good quarterback. You're going out and buying. So this game does become crucial. Bill, we expect to make the playoffs even if he drops to 1-2 here. But that would make it a little iffy. That would be not a really good start for him. So let's look at Bill's team, which we haven't really yet. Brian Robinson, who has been fantastic. I think he was on Bill's bench last week, which was part of the reason that loss came about. He swapped him in, and it's tough when you have all the depth to pick and to choose and to get the right guys all the time. So Michael Thomas, I think, has been... Is he fully back? I don't know. We have no touchdowns. But just on a volume and a PPR percentage, of course, the Slant King, Love in full PPR, he's at 11 and 12.5, so he's a good start. We also have Olave, so Bill's starting 2 New Orleans receivers. Does that kind of eat into each other's upside? That's maybe a bigger conversation that we can have another day. I don't think it was too worrisome, because with Ramondre and Brian Robinson, that's where you're hoping to get all your points. And then, oh yeah, he has this Kelsey fellow, who's pretty good and can be a pretty big difference maker. Saquon Barkley, though, did not play Thursday. Justin Fields, of course. Sorry, I'm so happy to see Fields struggle. But Justin Fields turning into a bust so far. He could still have his big running days. He is the Konami code type of quarterback. Kirk Cousins not a bad fill-in, though, but that's an advantage to Grant. I like the advantage with Kelsey over Kincaid more, even though I do like Kincaid this year and in the future. This is a good game of the week because I'm stalling because I don't know who to pick here. Fantasy Pros has Bill higher at a 99, but Grant still high at a 97. I'm going to roll with Fantasy Pros. I'm going to risk making the exact same mistake I did with Max, where last week I bet on Bill to win and he blew it. But I like Bill to bounce back here, and have a little bit of a, trash talk filled 2 tight ends podcast on Tuesday. I guess I should start also throwing in who I think's gonna have to face punishment for the week, and I'm very worried that it's gonna be me for several weeks this year at a minimum if I don't do something to right the ship. That's going to be it. If I don't have any more chats or questions to answer, Grant, F that guy. Grant, you're doing pretty well though, so let's not get too wild. And plus, my predictions have not been that on point this year, so I wouldn't think anything of me picking against you. Grant says Bill's done for. The trash talking has already begun. I look forward to it continuing throughout the day today. But that is going to do it for us. Always remember that if you're streaming on YouTube, you have to go to YouTube and hit go live, because OBS doesn't communicate very well with YouTube. And always remember not to start any Thursday players in your flex. We'll see.